everyone. Yeah, Zelensky praised Trump for trimming Putin's deadline, but I strongly suspect he did this just because that's kind of a thing that you do with Trump. You know, you just kind of throw him a bone because there's no way to interact with Trump unless you praise him for something, and this is exactly what he did. It is very possible that neither he nor people of Ukraine, nor for that matter anyone else in the world, is taking this seriously. This is bullshit. Trump cannot end the war in Ukraine. Not the way he thinks he can. You know, he has given so many timelines, so many adjustments, you know, so many excuses. He was shocked that Putin lied to him, and yeah, so what? What do you know now? Nobody's impressed. Nobody's particularly impressed since 2 weeks had already passed since his original 50-day deadline. Again, it's meaningless. Unless you have something specific that is going to be effective to do about this. Because we already talked about this. Sanctions don't work on Russia. And we talked about why. They're just too far gone to care. And tariffs are not going to work on Russia because we're not trading with them. Remember, we are sanctioning organizations that do trade with them. So that's not going to do a damn thing. So, and Trump said he's not interested in talking directly to Putin. Okay. But again, Putin is not going to be impressed. He doesn't give a shit. I think it still amazes me how anybody in the world still thinks that there is any possibility of using diplomacy with somebody like Putin. I mean, would you use diplomacy with Genghis Khan? Think on that scale. Think about the worst tyrants through human history, like Genghis Khan and Khan Bati and Hitler, Stalin, Torquemada, you know, all of those guys, Mad King George, all of them. Think about it. Could you use diplomacy with them? Would you even waste your time? No. Not gonna happen. Meanwhile, there's been more savage strikes against Ukraine, particularly my native region of Zaporizhzhya, the city of Zaporizhzhya. A penitentiary has been hit, and 16 people were killed. At least 35 more were injured. Nearby private homes were also damaged. Here's the thing: Ukraine does not use its convicts as part of the army. It doesn't do that thing that Russia does, where they basically free their rapist, murderers, thieves, every imaginable kind of thug, and send them to murder Ukrainian civilians. So there were prisoners in that penitentiary, and of course there were staff, and some of them got killed. The story continues developing about Russia's Aeroflot and the massive cyber attack that was unleashed on them. Again, so far things are not looking so good. I mentioned yesterday that a lot of Aeroflot systems are incredibly antiquated, and it is very likely that a lot of the information stored there is not recoverable. So another day of air traffic havoc for Russia, and as far as I'm concerned, they deserve it. Russia occupied Donetsk region is experiencing massive power outages. 3 substations were hit by Ukrainian drones. And, we talked about the Donetsk region, and I understand that Donetsk Luhansk continues to be the point of contention among a lot of people because they believe those regions were done wrong. So, I have told you the history of them, how they got populated with largely Russian population, Russian convict population following Holodomor. And I explained what happened in 2014 when they basically betrayed their country by surrendering their land to the Russian militants and collaborating with them. Let's also not forget that's where the shot was fired that shot down that Malaysian Airlines airplane carrying civilians. So, feel free to support them or not, but the facts remain. They kept saying how they wanted to separate from Ukraine, but there's a process for that. They could have followed a legal secession process. They chose not to. How does it feel now to be a part of Russia? Because remember, we talked about this. Russia had turned all of its border regions, Rostov, Kursk, Belgorod, Bryansk, all of that has been turned into one giant military zone. Military everything. Troops, supplies, weapons, etc. Thus making them prime military targets. Donetsk Luhansk area, which they have been occupying for quite some time, is no exception. That's what they're being used for. And amazingly, people who fled Donetsk Luhansk didn't go to Russia. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. They went to Ukraine they claimed to despise. They even went even farther away to Poland, which they also claimed to despise. Make your own judgment, and again, feel free to fact check me. You can look up Donetsk civilian population migration. Feel free. Sumy region continues getting slammed again. There's been injuries, there's been destruction, and again, the community attacked had no military objects in the area. Here's another article on the strike that killed so many people in a prison in Zaporizhzhya penitentiary. So this one was more recent. Apparently the death toll went from 15 to 17 people, which is not surprising. The amount of wounded will likely go up as well. The stakes are very high in the Zaporizhzhya region. So once again, I encourage you to pull up your maps and take a look. Russia wants Zaporizhzhya region for its industrial infrastructure. Several times, and some time ago, we talked about the inert gases that are crucial in the manufacturing of microchips. So, Zaporizhzhya is one of the regions in Ukraine that helps supply those. It is a unique product because it's tied to the metallurgical industry, which is highly developed there. Inert gases and prefab metals. Ukraine supplies 70% of world supply of inert gases, and 90% of those go into the United States, as well as it's one of the top 15 manufacturers of prefab